Okay.
Did I do it?
Beautiful.
Okay,
You
perfect.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you so much, Garrett.
Yeah, thank you again for having me.
You know, I want to acknowledge that when you were here, do you remember what month you were here, Garrett?
Off the top of my head, I do not.
Okay, but I do remember we were trading under 1300.
Yeah, I think it
And,
was somewhere maybe back April or May.
yeah, and you had a count. The reason I remember it is because you showed a breakout happening over the 1375 level, and us trading above 1400. It looks like the wave count has shifted, maybe because of the nature of the advance to this is just the completion of wave one, and you're looking for a two now. So you think that we have had a peak as of Monday and we're going to start moving lower, but that's not the end of the bull move. It's just beginning. This is just wave one. Am I interpreting it right?
Yes, I do believe at the time I had the same count, but the target was 1375 for this wave one, looking for a 5-wave structure to complete off of the August 2018 low before that wave two pullback. So the nature of the advance that we did get, the strength that we saw, the overachievement here that has brought it up to that next fib at 1429 has forced me to consider that perhaps we're already in a large degree third wave as well. So
I think I recall it was above 1375, that count. I mean, look, who could remember counts that we had months ago, right? And then you showed it, and I think pulling back to really around the same levels, maybe a little lower, but 6018 is viable for a wave two that would take it to 1260. Do you look for, but it looks like your preferred is maybe back to 38% at 13 and a quarter, which would be one heck of a shakeout for people that bought the
right,
breakout at 1375, right?
right. That's the pretty standard target region for wave two pullback, a 382 to 618 retrace at the size of wave one. And yes, I would be leaning towards the upper end of that support region.
Okay. So, do you use Motive Wave? Is this Motive Wave the software you use? Or you
Yes.
come? Okay. I just have a question because I know some other traders that use it. Before you had Motive Wave, you had to, come up with all your counts yourself, right? And
Well, I still do all my counts manually. I don't use any of the auto wave features at all.
okay, so just for showing, what do you use Motive Wave for then?
It's just much easier to do counts rather than a simple text tool.
Okay,
It
so it
allows
doesn't
you
make you
to quickly
lazy.
drop counts. And I really like the way that it calculates fibs on the logarithmic scale
Okay,
compared to other software.
okay,
The difference is that there's not really a difference in calculation in other softwares when you switch from arithmetic to logarithmic scale, whereas on Motive Wave, there is a difference. And I think
interesting.
it does it the correct way.
Okay, interesting. So it's an embellishment of what you're doing anyway, and it's a time saver for you, right?
Right, it makes my job a lot easier.
Okay, so I mean, but you're not reliant upon the counts and the harmonics that pop up from it. You still do that on your own. What do you do if what you see is different than what Motive Wave puts out there?
Quite honest, I don't even ever really look at what it puts out. The only
Okay,
time that I'll see that is if, for example, I just use the feature to decompose, just to quickly put the labels on. And sometimes in this instance, it did put it where I would have put it as well. But more often than not, I have to adjust the placement. It just quickly draws the labels for me to save
okay.
time.
Okay, so I think that there's a relationship with U.S. dollar yen and gold, and so if you're looking for a pullback here in gold, 38% back, what's your count look like on U.S. dollar yen?
Let me switch over to that real quick, but before I
Sure.
do so,
Okay.
I just wanted to take a look at the smaller time frame here on
O-
gold and just
Okay.
explain quickly what I'm looking for to kind of confirm that we will get that larger pullback as the wave two.
I see. Okay.
So what I'm watching is support here between 1397, which is getting tested this morning, and
Right.
1378. And this is the
Okay.
standard support region if you were to draw an impulse from the May 30th low that would hold as a fourth wave to set up another high as a fifth. So I really want to see this support region here taken out. So basically sustained move below 1378 to firmly put those probabilities in favor of the larger wave 2 pullback.
Okay.
Until then, the potential to see another extension higher up to 1479 is something I have to consider.
Okay, excellent. So really same type of line in the sand based on Elliott and based on conventional technical analysis that 1375 comes into play for an extended correction. And,
Right.
you know, I don't know what you do with your, what you have underneath. It looks like you use RSI and you use a 13 period. Any reason why you went to a 13 period, Garrett?
Just Fibonacci numbers.
Okay. All right. And the MACD. So at the high, we had a little, do you use it for divergence, or I like using RSI for when I get confirmed highs.
Right.
To me, that means that, you know, markets rarely top when momentum's confirming the move, both on bottoms and tops. Do you use these tools for looking for divergences to line up with your counts?
Exactly, yeah. So I want to see divergence on fifth waves, on C waves, etc., where I expect to see a turn in the market. If there's no divergence, then obviously, as you said, that makes seeing a turn there more questionable.
Okay. A great look on gold. Can we go to US dollar yen? And
yeah, definitely. So what I'm watching here on the US dollar is this support that price just hit here. And that support was a measured move of the initial drop down from the May high here. So if you measure this move that I have labeled as an A wave projected from the top of the bounce as the B wave, it hit an exact 100% extension at the recent low and has started to turn back up. So that's a very common target, a measured move for a corrective ABC structure, which means that this pullback could be setting up another trip to the upside before we get a more significant top if we continue to hold this support here that we recently tested.
okay.
And that could take us up to around 99 or so to finish off this final move and the overall rally off of the February 2018 low.
Okay, and 99.44. But I noticed that, are you doing time projections as well on your work? Because it looks like you're looking for this towards the end of 2019, the dollar to finish on a pretty strong note. If this count works out, are you doing Fibonacci time work? How are you projecting potential cycles?
I'm not doing any Fibonacci time work. The placement of my labels is usually just a very rough estimate.
Okay.
Elliott wave theory is pretty much based on price alone.
Right.
The only real timing aspect that you consider is the rough proportions of wave structures in comparison to each other. And, you know, if you're familiar with Elliott wave theory and you've done it for a while, you kind of get a rough idea of what the length of that move should look like on the chart. So aside from that, again, just very rough estimate. I'm more concerned with price than I am the timing aspect.
Okay, so if the dollar has a chance to be putting in a low here, if we just take out the lows that we have here temporarily, what does that turn the dollar into? Does that take new highs off the table if we take out this week's low? Or could we rally to 97 first and then take out this week's lows marginally and still turn back to the upside?
Marginally, yes. What would really remove new highs from the table for me would be a break back below this January low at the beginning of the year at 95.
Okay, 95 is the line in the sand for Garrett Patten. All right, thank you so much for that. I'm assuming if there's going to be some dollar strength, that there's going to be some U.S. dollar yen strength, yen weakness. What's your roadmap look like there?
On the yen, it's actually not something that I cover really. We do have a Forex service on our site that I'm not a part of. I mean, I cover so many other charts that just the bandwidth, it's hard for me to cover.
Okay, well, let's go geo then. Let's go geo with what's been happening in oil. We had that Huge
For sure.
sell-off from 66.5 down to about 51, and we've had a nice recovery here. Is this a rally that you're looking to fade up here? It looks like it.
It is, yep. So my expectation is that since we struck that high back in April, that we're beginning a C wave of a larger corrective A, B, and C down from the high that was hit in October of 2018.
Okay.
So the nature of the drop that we got from the high in April, looking like a three-wave structure, suggests that C wave is going to unfold as an ending diagonal. So each of the subwaves here within the actionary waves would also decompose into three-wave structures.
Okay, so this is actually going to take out the lows. This can be new lows for the move, even back to 2017, and it's going to take out this January low. So a lot of weakness in crude. There has been some correlation, although it's kind of broken down between what's happening with energy and what's happening with stock indexes. So we have made new highs up at this recent marginal new highs in S&Ps. I know that you guys are very active in S&Ps. I've seen some of Avi's work. I think the last one I saw, he said there was a trapdoor, and we did get a decline, but you know, he talks about once you get a decline, you can just follow it down, and if directions change, you get out of the way. So we did have this very sharp rebound. What's your view on stock indexes now?
Right. I'm still somewhat of a stubborn bear here. Still not seeing enough evidence out there across various different charts that I follow to strongly support a sustained breakout. So I'm continuing to view based on the LA wave count and based on various other charts that I track, a top approaching for a very significant correction. And that top is a third wave within the larger impulse back from the bull market beginning here in 2009. So if you
Okay.
see here these labels, the 1, 2 as the start to that larger impulse, the move up since that low that we hit in 2011 being the entire third wave, and now I'm looking for that fourth wave within the impulse to take us back to an ideal target of roughly 2200 or slightly underneath there.
Okay. And
But
just yeah, yeah.
near term, there is the potential for one more gas fire here. If this support region, and I switched to the ES charts, the
Yeah.
numbers may be slightly different here, but
Okay.
if this support region here between 2925 and 2900 is able to hold, then I can see one more move higher and attempt to test around 3000
Yeah, the big
before that
round
top.
number,
Right.
psychological number. Okay, so that's interesting. While that's going on, I happen to think that the bigger bubble, and I know it's contrarian, is in the treasury market. And to me, it's starting to look like it has, at least for a correction, somewhat imminent in it, and wondering what your view is on either TLT or the 10-year yield or TLT. Okay.
TLT, yeah, we can take a quick look there, and then I'll also take a look at the 10-year.
Okay.
But I do agree that we're relatively overbought here. I mean, we have some significant negative divergence on
Right.
technicals. It does look like a pullback or kind of reset here is likely to be seen, but I'm not convinced that upside is completely finished. And actually,
Okay.
if I do
So we
switch to
get a
that,
4 and then another blast. So maybe we get a 4 while the S&Ps are blowing up towards the 3000 level, and then once we have a peak, bonds will be a buy again and S&Ps a short. What do you think of that theory?
I mean, it's always nice to see those markets kind of move in unison and correlation, but
They
it's
don't have
not
to.
required. Yeah, for my work, I usually try to gauge or treat each market on its own merits and by itself. So
Okay, and I see you have like a 180 target. Wow, yeah. So
so
rates
I'm a
lower for longer based on your work, buddy.
little off my rocker here as far as my expectations for the 10-year, but I actually believe that we can
Wow.
head a lot lower in rates over the
We
next
won't be
several
negative
years.
like Europe. but we
Not
went,
quite negative,
yeah,
but I see quite a few people thinking that the bottom we hit in 2016 was a
it.
significant bottom in it, as far as this downtrend that we've had since the 80s. So
Okay.
I'm not so convinced that we've put in that bottom yet.
Okay. So maybe we're either bottoming here to get a B, or you still think A is going to be lower at 170.
So that 4 and 5 on the TLT chart would be the 4 5 to complete this C of the A, and then the large bounce is the B
I see.
for filling out the rest of the structure down.
Okay. Uh, do you have any what you would call fairly high conviction? I mean, I think everything that you see, you have conviction, but for me, at times, everything seems to be lining up that gives me stronger conviction. Not that they end up being right, but you and your team, what kind of themes are you working now that we're completing the second quarter here and heading into the third quarter type trades during the summer that I think we're going to have another quiet summer or increased volatility during the summer. So people should have, postponed their trip to the Hamptons. What do you think, buddy?
Yeah, I would say kind of our two major themes right now are down in equities, looking for that primary wave for correction,
Okay.
and further upside in precious metals overall, with
Okay.
this wave two aside here.
Okay. And do you do any work with the gold silver ratio? I believe gold silver ratio has recently made a new all-time high. Um, how do you explain the relative weakness in silver wave structure wise compared to gold?
My colleague who I work with in the miner service on our site, he looks at that ratio more often than I do.
Okay.
But usually, if I'm not mistaken, usually when silver is outperforming is typically when metals perform the best. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's more of an reflation trade because of silver having an industrial component to it. And poor man's gold gets too expensive. Everyone moves to silver, poor man's gold. So, anything the poor man buys doesn't work until, you know, the final stages where it really gets in gear. But I was wondering if you had what your structure would be here on silver. So you think this could be a 4 as long as we hold this 1480 or so level?
Right. So, I mean, obviously, silver has bounced as well off the May low, but not participated nearly to the same enthusiasm that gold has.
Okay.
Um, so the Elliott wave count here definitely it can be a little bit different and would match slightly better with this red potential here that I showed you earlier on the gold chart.
Okay. So,
But to get 5 waves up off of the May low, I need to see another move higher as this fifth wave here. This really only counts well as 3 waves so far.
right.
So holding a fourth wave and getting another high as a fifth wave would really improve odds that silver is also going to participate in a much larger move to the upside, where we have a 1-2-1-2 off of the low that was hit last year.
Okay, interesting. So the precious metals still have a possibility of a resumption of a bull market after a pullback. I'm saying that Dr. Copper had its PhD taken away for misrepresenting itself as a bull market for a while. And yeah, okay. So again, the industrial take 240 as a target for you, and you still think there might be some more left on this bear market, this bounce that we've had from 262.
Right. Copper is definitely not positioned in nearly as convincing of an immediate upside pattern compared especially to gold, but silver as well. It's questionable for me whether or not we have completed the downside. I do think that it's very close to putting in a bottom. If we do see further downside, it may just be close to a double bottom, a retest of that 2.53 level, or the fib that these two prior lows came very shy of reaching. But potentially even extending as low as 2.38, depending on the size of the next move lower. But that changes for me if we can get a move above 2.79. that's what really starts to shift those probabilities more strongly in favor of that low that was hit at the beginning of the year being an actual more sustainable bottom, and this possible one to start to a new move to the upside, a new impulse to the upside that you see as the alt count there.
Okay. So I think we've covered a lot of different markets. Anything else you'd like to wrap it with, and perhaps, you know, show where people could find you during the day, Garrett? And, you know, this is time for a little bit of a commercial for you guys as a thank you from me and us for you coming here and edifying our community.
Yeah, I'll do that. Now, let me quickly take a look at GDX first, just since we didn't
Okay.
touch upon that yet.
All right.
So I do think that the real opportunity, if we are starting a significant move to the upside in precious metals, is really going to be in the minor stocks. Those have the potential to really outperform to the upside if we continue to show strength in gold and silver. So
Wow.
I'm
34 long term. Yeah.
kind of looking at something similar to the possibilities that I was showing you in gold.
Right.
That same 1-2 here would match with the 1-2 in gold before a very powerful third wave to the upside. But there are quite a few individual mining stocks that would fit this red count, which is a larger leading diagonal where we get a more shallow pullback as this B wave maybe just closed the gap that we saw earlier in the month. Before heading up to around 29.75 next as this wave C of 3, then a 4-5 from there, and that completes an even larger wave 1.
Okay,
But
so would you classify it, since you cover the miners, that it's the majors, blue chip golds, that are resembling that pattern more than the juniors?
the GDXJ has more silver miners in it, which why it's kind of lagging a little bit in the
Okay.
upside. And yeah, I do think that the majors are more sensitive to the price of gold, whereas those very, very micro cap mining stocks, a lot of the movement sometimes is on management things or
Debt,
geopolitical issues or debt. Exactly.
nationalizing mines.
Right.
There's always something. So that's something in this kind of world where, you know, leadership, volatility, etc., tariffs, etc. Do you feel safe buying miners that are outside of, say, North America? You feel comfortable with miners that have their mines in Mexico and other geo spots in the world, or more comfortable with things that are happening in North America?
I'm a technical trader, so I trade based off of the chart rather than more fundamental issues. But I would be at least a little bit mindful, yes, of those geopolitical risks when you have mines in countries that aren't necessarily as welcoming or accepting of some of
Right.
the companies there.
You have a couple names that you follow and trade for yourself?
Yeah, we actually cover quite a few miners in our miner service on the site. I can pull up everybody's favorite Barrick,
Okay.
which would fit that red count. The price structure on this fits the red count. So this looks like a larger leading diagonal in development off of the low that we hit last year.
Yeah.
But the bigger picture thing here is that we have this really strong structure off of the 2015 low that itself can be a large degree 1 and 2, which means that this could be the start of a much larger third wave that eventually takes us, you know,
Wow.
all the way back above the highs that we hit in 2011. So really do see quite a bit of opportunity in gold miners, assuming that, you know, these charts and counts continue to cooperate. So I'm kind of
Yeah,
excited
I mean,
for
you're
the
projecting
opportunity
way
there.
out there, 2032. Let's see, that's 13 years. Hope to see Barrick at 150.
Right. And again, just
Uh,
rough estimate as far as the timing goes. More
yeah,
concerned about those price levels, but
I'm more
yeah,
concerned about making it to 2032. Young guys like you don't. You're immortal right now. So, you know, Garrett, another great presentation. If you want to show your website, and do you moderate and coach and work in a chat room during the day, and what hours are you there?
Yeah, so our site is elliottwavetrader.net, and we
Want to
do
show it?
have, yeah, I got to figure out how to do this. Software, sorry.
It's okay.
That do it?
That did it. Okay, so you're showing your chat room now?
Right, yeah, so you should see our chat room. We have a number of different services that we offer. We basically cover all markets, Forex, precious metals, crude oil and different commodities, mining stocks, other just regular equity stocks, world
Okay,
markets. So the services that I'm part of are world markets. I run that by myself. The
okay,
mining stocks portfolio and stock waves. And
okay,
also I do a live video 3 times a day where we go over those markets that you saw on my motive wave setup, the SPX,
okay,
gold, silver, GDX, crude oil, and the US dollar. Then I also take requests for those who are joining.
okay.
And we offer a 15-day free trial, no credit card required. So if you just want to come check us out, please do so and see if it's something that you like and could help you with your trading.
Thank you, Garrett, my trading warrior brother, for coming back, and congratulations on that gold call to above 1400, and really appreciate your roadmaps that you showed us all here in F.A.C.E today. And it's my hope that pips rain down on you like hitting a vein in a major mine, and you just go down there and you don't even have to dig it out. It's falling on the ground like nuggets of gold. And so really appreciate your contribution to our community today, Garrett.
Thank you, and thank you for having me again.
All right, we'll do it again down the road. Okay, bro?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, Garrett, that everyone, that's Garrett Patten. You could also follow him on Twitter at Garrett Patten, and that's spelled GarrettPatten. Correct, Garrett?
Yes.
All right. That's a wrap for us, everyone. Remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. And we'll see everyone to wrap up the week, TGIF. Good hunting the rest of the day. Thank you, Garrett Patten, for hanging out with me today.
Thanks again.
All right, buddy.